13th episode of Tehani. My name is Tehani Chandrasena. Unfortunately, due to the COVID restrictions, we've been unable to shoot, and so that's why we've been missing for a couple of months. But we're so excited to be back. Today I have with me my delighted friend and one of my role models who has been a constant inspiration, Harin Perera. Hi, Harin.
Hi, Tehani. Glad to see you're back. I know it's been a while.
Thank you so much. So to begin, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So as you might know from school, I like to crack a few jokes here and there.
Yeah.
But I think recently I've been getting into cooking, trying out new foods wherever I can. I think that's something I've been really enjoying lately. But to give you a sense of what I've been doing, so as you might know, I was born in the States.
Right.
I lived there for about 7-8 years.
Right.
Then I moved to our lovely Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And then so I went to AIS, as you did. And then for the last 2 years, I've been at the University of Cambridge in England.
Awesome. That's amazing. So since you brought that up, let me just start by asking you the question as what has your journey been like to get to Cambridge, going to such a prestigious university? What has that journey been like from day one?
As in from starting from uni or
Yes.
from school?
From school.
Right. So I actually started school and most of my education as a science student.
Right.
So I did standard physics, chemistry, bio, and my A-levels were also the science subjects. But I realized that I was testing fairly well, but I wasn't really passionate about what I was studying.
Right.
And then around the same time, I got into like Model UN, debating, and I really like arguing.
Right.
As you know, I love talking.
Yeah.
I've heard from a few people. But
Sure.
but because of that, I thought I might want to pursue law.
Yeah.
And then during my last year of school, I did my personal statement, and then I started doing that. And
Okay.
that's how I got to Cambridge.
Amazing. Okay. So since you mentioned that you were mostly a science student and now you're doing law, which is sort of artsy, I
Yeah.
presume, because it's not a science subject or science related. So has that switch been hard, or is it just interesting to have so much knowledge in terms of like physics, chem, bio, and then to do law now? What has that been like?
I think definitely quite tough because I think science subjects are inherently very analytical.
Yeah.
Not much essay writing, not much research. And so studying a subject like law, I was kind of thrown into the deep end.
Okay.
So I think the first few months it took me a while to get into the habit of reading so many pages, writing essays with arguments or thesis, and it's a very different style to
Right.
like equations and stuff.
Okay.
But I've finally gotten used to my subject, which I'm quite
Okay.
happy about. But I have seen some knockoff effects. So for example, for law, you can typically do essay questions or problem questions.
Okay.
Typically, law the essays are more research-based, with problem questions more analytical-based.
Right.
You kind of break a question down.
Okay.
And I think because of my science background, I
That-
tend to lean towards problem
Right.
questions. I really enjoy them, and I think as a result, I want to practice a law, and I don't want to be an academic.
Right.
But I think that's been a kind of a shift that I've seen,
Okay.
and also kind of a non-shift where I'm kind of staying to my roots of science, but also adapting to a new subject.
Okay, amazing. So in some ways it sort of helped, although it's a completely different avenue or not related to any science field. Your background or whatever you learned in school, science related, has helped
Yeah,
you in
correct.
fact in law. Okay, amazing. So tell me a little bit about what it has been like to transition from Sri Lanka to the UK. And I know the UK has many great universities, but I'm sure Cambridge is really prestigious. So how did you feel, as in when you were telling people, oh, I'm going to Cambridge, like was there a part of you that was like really excited about it, or were you like nervous to tell people, not knowing like how they would look at you or what they would think, what they would be saying? So tell me a little bit about that and how you felt before you transitioned.
So oddly enough, I've actually never straight away said I go to Cambridge.
Right.
I was getting a bit shy about that.
Yeah.
So I'll say, oh, I go uni in the UK or in
Okay.
England or something. And then if someone asks, oh, I go to Cambridge.
Cambridge, right.
I always get a bit shy saying it.
Right.
But for me, it's kind of a casual thing. Of course, very privileged to be able to
Yeah.
go there. But I like to kind of be a bit humble about it. Just,
Yeah.
Let it
Sure,
be.
that's great. Yeah.
That kind of thing. But I think going there has been quite tough because obviously in school, work was not as hard, I'd say.
Right.
Of course, work was hard, but you've been doing it for so long, and there's a big disparity, of course. But at Cambridge, I think I realized that everyone was really smart, and a lot of
Okay.
people would do almost no work and still get the same or a higher grade.
Right.
So I think I was really pushed to like a new limit.
Right.
I wouldn't say thrown to the deep end because I guess I knew what I was getting into.
Right. Yeah.
But no matter how much you know, it always surprises you because you're in a completely new environment.
Okay.
So I think that was a bit tough. But I think a lot of the other differences are not at Cambridge related, more like I guess, going abroad for uni. So I think
Yes.
culture,
Yeah, tell me a little bit
food.
about that.
So I think had to learn to cook, do
Okay.
laundry. My mom is very happy I can do my own laundry now.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I think the food is a big thing for me.
Okay.
Obviously, at home in Sri Lanka, a lot of spices, a lot of seasonings.
Yeah.
But over there, like when you're too lazy to cook, if you buy like a ready-made meal,
Right.
it's not flavored at all.
Right.
It's you're truly
Bland.
eating it like because you're hungry.
Yeah,
I
right.
think my most depressing food moment was I was starving at like 2 in the
Okay.
morning. I had an essay due, so I ended up putting baby potatoes in the microwave and adding ketchup and
Oh
Tabasco.
my.
But I've gotten better since then. Now I make rice and curry, some
Okay,
pastas.
amazing.
I've gotten better.
That's
But the
great.
first few moments were not my best culinary experiences.
I see.
I think culture was different.
Yeah.
I think in the UK, people are very, if they actually like interact and greet you, they actually care.
Okay.
I think in Sri Lanka, it's very like, oh, hi, how are you, bro? Like, to a stranger, you say machang or whatever to a
True,
complete stranger.
true.
So you're used to everyone being, I guess, warm, per se.
Yeah.
In the UK, I think people
Little
aren't
different.
immediately warm. Once you get to know them, they're very kind people.
Right.
But they won't just walk on the road and say, oh, hi, Harin, or hi,
Right.
bro, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So that kind of culture difference took me a while to adjust to, but then you get used to it. But
Awesome, awesome. So I know you left in 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So when you went, obviously there was no COVID. And what has the difference in your academic experience been like going before COVID, then during COVID, and now sort of, you're in Sri Lanka and your last semester term was here. So what has that whole journey been like in terms of the pandemic?
So I think academics wise, I think for uni in general, everything's gone online.
Right.
So on the plus side, for someone like me, exams are online.
Right.
So instead of having to memorize hundreds of law cases, I can just, control F my Word document. And
Right.
so I think exams are a lot less stressful.
Okay.
I think they kill you for that 24-hour exam.
Right.
But it's not as deadly like preparing for it.
Okay.
But I think what really kind of made it difficult for me and many people is online learning.
Yeah.
So lecture halls, instead of going to a lovely place, 150 people, interact with your lecturer, it's pre-recorded. And I think just focusing on something like that gets quite tough.
Sure.
And then for Cambridge specifically, so the education is based on a thing called a supervision,
Okay.
which is essentially like a one-on-one or a two-on-one seminar kind of thing.
Right.
And I think it works on being a very personal, very intimate way of learning. And it's on Zoom or Microsoft Teams. And yes, you have that two-on-one kind of setting, but it loses that the intimacy and that personal
Sure.
vibe because it's all online. So I think that's kind of been a bit of a hindrance to my academics.
Okay.
I think I really hope so I'm graduating next year.
Right.
So I hope my final year goes back to that in-person kind of learning.
No, I really hope it does too.
Because I much preferred kind of working that way.
Yeah, sure. I can imagine. In terms of, okay, so I know you're obviously studying at Cambridge and doing law, but have there been any things outside of the box that you've done, something new out of your comfort zone that you've been a part of, or, just taken part in?
So I think my first year especially, I was like, I really want to try things that I never thought I'd do.
Yeah.
So for one is I actually got into sports for the first time in my
Wow,
life.
okay.
So my college had like I thought the mixed ones would be a bit easier.
Right.
It's like mixed lacrosse, mixed field hockey, and then mixed netball.
Right.
Never played netball, but
Yeah.
it's quite fun,
Yeah.
It's kind of casual thing.
Okay.
And I think that was quite fun.
So not a competitive sport.
No, it's I think like friendly matches with different colleges.
Right.
And I think it was kind of fun. I think kind of getting out there, trying something that I've always known as the guy who never did sports.
Yeah.
In school. It's kind of a new thing.
Okay.
I went from dislocating my ankle doing
Yes,
triple jump.
doing a triple jump. Yeah, how can I forget?
I'll admit I pulled a few muscles in college of sport, but
Right.
good fun. I think drama was something that I wanted to try.
okay.
And I did 2 plays my first year.
Awesome.
One was actually a Russian play.
Okay.
So we ended up singing a song in Russian.
Wow.
Thank God I forgot how to do it, so you won't ask me to sing it here.
Yeah, I probably would have. So good on you for letting me know.
But that was quite nice. And then kind of sticking to my comforts, I did debating again at the
Okay.
Cambridge Union. So that's kind of sticking to what I've been doing for a
Yeah.
while.
And what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I had to make some compromise as well.
Okay.
So I did MUN in school for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of expect myself to do it in uni.
Right.
But it became a huge time commitment because,
Okay.
all these deadlines and stuff. And committing to a 2-3 day conference in a row, plus the
Tough.
days to prepare. I knew realistically I had to compromise and choose something else because
Yeah.
I wouldn't realistically be able to manage my time. And so
Right.
you got to make those compromises, but at least I got to try out new things. And I don't regret it. I've really enjoyed my last 2 years. I think, of course, my first year of really doing things, but
Yeah.
it was a nice process.
That's awesome. That's really amazing. So something else that I wanted to ask you was, I know you have, since you said you were born in the US, you had the opportunity to go back there and do your higher studies there. So what made you choose the UK over the US, and what was that process like, picking and deciding? And I mean, I know it's Cambridge, but what made you decide UK, country-wise, or if there was any other factor?
Right. So I think in my last year of school, when I realized I want to pursue law, so that was kind of a big thing. So
Yeah.
law in the UK, you go straight to law school, 3
Right.
years,
Okay.
that's it.
Okay.
If you go to the US, you have to get an undergrad before.
Okay.
So that's 7 years, 4 plus 3.
Okay, right.
And so my thing is 4 years, I'm saving a lot of time, a lot of money, and that's time and money I can invest in something else.
True.
I'd much rather graduate at 21 and try out my different options.
Okay.
Instead of waiting till 25. And my thing is, I want to practice. I want to get into it. And 7 more years of education.
Is a lot.
4 of which I knew I would never use. I mean, I could do a degree, a good undergrad. I'll have a great time, sure.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing it for just kind of killing time, I didn't think it was worth it.
Right.
And then that's why I chose the UK in the end.
So that was the biggest factor.
Correct.
Okay. What was it like applying to a university with a name like Cambridge? Like, were you nervous? What was that process like? Was it harder than any of the other universities you applied to? I'm sure you applied to other universities. So was there a difference? And if so, what was that? And how did you kind of overcome that?
Right. So interestingly, with applications, there are different stages.
Right.
And so stage 1 was common to everywhere I applied to. All
Okay.
the 5 unis you can apply in the UK. So you do a personal statement.
Okay.
And that's not common to a particular uni.
Okay.
So they all got the same thing.
Right.
So that about the same. But Cambridge specifically has 2 more things.
Okay.
So they have their own kind of application process where you give like an extended essay.
Right.
Just to give a bit more context to who you are, why can't you want to go to Cambridge in particular. But that's a minor thing. I think the big thing was the interview process.
Right.
So you
So
fly.
tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so you fly to Cambridge in, I think, December of your final year of school.
Okay.
And so I had 2 interviews specifically. Both were subject-based,
Right.
about half an hour each.
Okay.
And it was quite daunting. I mean, you're being interviewed by professors who
Yeah.
are at the top of their field,
Right.
who know a hell of a lot more than you would
Yeah.
ever know.
Yeah.
And they can be quite intimidating.
Yeah.
So typically they'll give you like an extract or some information to prepare with,
Okay.
about half an hour before, and then they question
Oh,
you.
half an hour before.
Yeah, so
Okay.
first of all, you don't get much time to prepare.
Right.
And the thing is, what's quite interesting about the interview process is the questions you get are designed and tailored from what you've answered before.
Right. Okay.
So they don't actually come in with a set list of questions.
Okay.
So they'll ask you a few questions to kind of break the ice kind
Yeah.
of thing. And then they'll question you based on what you've said.
Okay.
So I think, if I remember correctly, there was a question about, I think, a suspected terrorist in a market.
Okay.
And they were like, they suspected an old lady. And they said, what do you do? And I said, and after responding, they were like, okay, so what if they were wrong, but they injured that lady,
Okay.
right? Shouldn't the police be liable? And I said, of course they should. And I said, they have a job, and yes, they want to prevent terrorism, but
Yeah.
you, of course, don't want to injure the wrong person.
Yes.
And then they went, oh, but aren't you being too harsh on the police? Which I doubt they would have prepared beforehand. But right at that moment...
Yeah, because it was depending on your
That's the
answer,
thing.
your response.
And you're like, oh, crap, like, what do I say now?
Yeah.
And you slow down, breathe a bit, take your time, and then you answer. I
Right.
think it's a very interesting experience. And then I finished it off with a small essay that they want you to write.
Okay.
And then you actually find out very quickly. I think it took me about 4 or 5 weeks to find out.
That you got in. Okay.
A very scary application,
Yeah.
but a fun one.
A fun
nonetheless.
one, yeah. And I'm sure like that whole interview process gave you a lot of confidence maybe to go out and, talk to other professors or
True, yeah.
older people with more knowledge, because that was like probably one of the first times that you had to have such a, like an interrogation almost of
That's the
sort.
thing.
Like it's an interview, but, they're trying to see if you're worthy enough to come to their university. So did that help
Definitely. I think
further on? Like,
knowing that you have some experience with like very daunting interview
Yeah.
processes, like so with job applications, internships, where you simulate. It's not like a prefect interview.
Yeah.
You're being interviewed by someone who's really renowned in that field.
Yes.
So it does help. It makes it less nervous, little less anxious, and more like, let me focus on the content. I've
Right.
done something like before. It's not that different. Of course, it might be a hard interview, but not
Yeah.
a scary interview.
Not a
I think
scary interview.
Removing that is a big.
Yeah, because when you go through that first one, it sort of breaks the fear, and then after that, you're not scared anymore. Obviously, you're nervous because you don't know what they'll ask, but the fear factor is sort of removed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So what would you say to potential students that want to apply to universities like Cambridge? What advice do you have for them?
I think, of course, there's the prestige factor. but don't see it as something crazy, you know. See it as something that you are applying because you think you can get in.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, see it as something that you can achieve. I mean, I'm not saying, of course, there's a guarantee you'll get it.
Yeah.
But you want to have that mindset that you can kind of manifest it. If you work hard enough, if you feel like you can, you work hard enough, you might be able to get in. So my thing is kind of manifest the right kind of emotions and feelings, and don't see it as this unattainable goal.
Right.
Because if you really thought it's unattainable, you wouldn't be applying in the first place.
True. 100%. And what would you say to someone who has faced a disappointing result in terms of university, of course?
Well, okay, of course, with mental preparation stuff, it's never one size fits all.
Yeah.
So people have different ways of coping. Personally, I've always just preferred being kind of like over the moon about great results versus being disappointed.
Right.
So I've always, it's not the healthiest, but I've always kind of underestimated myself. So I think,
Right.
you know, like, I've done my hardest, but like, if I don't get it, I don't get it. Like, I understand, like, it's quite tough. So for me, it's like, oh, like, if I got it, like,
Great,
thank
yeah.
God. Because I'd much rather that than be like, you know, I'm definitely going to get it and be disappointed. Of course, that goes against my little thing about manifesting
Yeah.
right emotions. And like I said, it's never a one size fits all.
True.
But I think at the end of the day, you worked your hardest. And even if you get disappointing result, why was that? You know, what can you improve on?
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, you'll have many interviews in the future
True.
with very scary people and very important things. So it's not about, okay, I didn't get what I wanted. It's more of, I understand I didn't get what I wanted, but what can I do to improve on? You know,
Right.
Is it the way I answer, the way I'm thinking it, the way I'm analyzing? Like, what are the things that I can improve on, and what worked? You know, if you have the opportunity, you can ask some feedback from the interview. Like, hi, like, thank you for taking your time to interview me. If I may ask, like, what did I do wrong, or what can I work on? I think having those points to kind of prevent another disappointing result is what makes it a good thing, you know?
Okay, awesome. And finally, Harin, do you have any advice for potential students that are, you know, going off to university this year? What would you tell them? What are some of the things maybe someone has told you that you would like to pass on, or just in general something that you learned along the way and you just want to share?
I'd say give yourself a break sometimes. You know, work will always be stressful.
Yeah.
Whether you begin with sports or extracurriculars, you will have a lot of things to do. And my thing is, if you need a break, take it. You know,
Okay.
Things are not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
If you have 10 plays to do, not doing 2 plays won't kill you.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're not okay mentally and physically, you won't perform at your best.
Yeah.
I mean, get your sleep. I mean, yeah, we all skimp on sleep here and there,
Yeah.
but make sure you're catching up on that sleep. And also make sure you're having fun, you know? I think uni is a great experience, some of the best 3 or 4 years of your life. But you want to be able to look back and think, you know, wow, I did that. Wow, I made those friends. I had the experiences. Wow, I did that play. Wow, I made that crazy goal, you know?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think I'd do it, like this, passed that test and I did.
Yeah.
You want to be able to look back at good experiences. So I think have fun and make sure you're taking time for yourself. Of course, in uni, there are things you have to do. Make sure you're also doing things you want to do.
That's
because
amazing.
no one can take that away from you.
Great. Thank you so much, Harin. I'm so glad you joined us today, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. We hope you join us next week as we talk to more inspiring young individuals. Have a great week, guys.